The Book of Joshua, Chapter 10. Hear the word of the Lord. The sun stands still. When Adoni-Sedek, king of Jerusalem, heard how Joshua had taken Ai and had utterly destroyed it, doing to Ai and its king as he had done to Jericho and its king, and how the inhabitants of Gibeon had made peace with Israel and were among them. He feared greatly because Gibeon was a great city, like one of the royal cities, and because it was greater than Ai, and all its men were mighty. So Adoni-Sedek, king of Jerusalem, sent to Hoham, king of Hebron, to Piram, king of Jarmuth, to Japhia, king of Lachish, and to Debir, king of Eglon, saying, Come up to me and help me, and let us smite Gibeon, for it has made peace with Joshua and with the people of Israel. Then the 5 kings of the Amorites, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon, gathered their forces and went up with all their armies and encamped against Gibeon and made war against it. And the men of Gibeon sent to Joshua at the camp in Gilgal, saying, Do not relax your hand from your servants. Come up to us quickly and save us and help us, for all the king of the Amorites that dwell in the hill country are gathered against us. So Joshua went up from Gilgal, he and all the people of war with him, and all the mighty men of valor. And the Lord said to Joshua, Do not fear them, for I have given them into your hands. There shall not a man of them stand before you. So Joshua came upon them suddenly, having marched up all night from Gilgal, and the Lord threw them into a panic before Israel, who slew them with a great slaughter at Gibeon, and chased them by the way of the ascent of Bethhorn, and smote them as far as Azekah and Makkedah. And as they fled from Israel, while they were going down the ascent of Bethhorn, the Lord threw down great stones from heaven upon them as far as Adekah, and they died. There were more who died because of the hailstones than the men of Israel killed with the sword. Then spoke Joshua to the Lord in the day when the Lord gave the Amorites over to the men of Israel, and he said in the sight of Israel, Sun, stand thou still at Gibeon, and thou moon in the valley of Aijalon. And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed, until the nation took vengeance on their enemies. Is this not written in the book of Jashar. The sun stayed in the midst of heaven and did not hasten to go down for about a whole day. There has been no day like it before or since, when the Lord hearkened to the voice of a man, for the Lord fought for Israel. Then Joshua returned, and all Israel with him, to the camp at Gilgal. 5 kings defeated. These 5 kings fled and hid themselves in the cave at Makkedah. And it was told Joshua, the 5 kings have been found hidden in the cave at Makkedah. And Joshua said, roll great stones against the mouth of the cave and set men by it to guard them. But do not stay there yourselves. Pursue your enemies, fall upon their rear. Do not let them enter their cities, for the Lord your God has given them into your hand. When Joshua had the men of Israel had finished slaying them with a very great slaughter, until they were wiped out, and when the remnant which remained of them had entered into the fortified cities, all the people returned safe to Joshua in the camp at Makkedah. Not a man moved his tongue against any of the people of Israel. Then Joshua said, open the mouth of the cave and bring those 5 kings out to me from the cave. And they did so, and brought those 5 kings out to him from the cave, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon. And when they brought those kings out to Joshua, Joshua summoned all the men of Israel and said to the chiefs of the men of war who had gone with him, come near, put your feet upon the necks of these kings. Then they came near and put their feet on their necks. And Joshua said to them, do not be afraid or dismayed. Be strong and of good courage, for thus the Lord will do all to your enemies against whom you fight. And afterwards Joshua smote them and put them to death. And he hung them on 5 trees, and they hung upon the trees until evening. But at the time of the going down of the sun, Joshua commanded, and they took them down from the trees and threw them into the cave where they had hidden themselves. And they set great stones against the mouth of the cave, which remain to this very day. And Joshua took Makkedah on that day and smote it and its king with the edge of the sword. He utterly destroyed every person in it. He left none remaining, and he did to the king of Makkedah as he had done to the king of Jericho. Then Joshua passed on from Makkedah, and all Israel with him, to Libnah, and fought against Libnah. And the Lord gave it also and its king into the hand of Israel, and he smote it with the edge of the sword, and every person in it. He left none remaining in it, and he did to its king as he had done to the king of Jericho. And Joshua passed on from Libnah and all Israel with him to Lachish, and laid siege to it, and assaulted it. The Lord gave Lachish into the hand of Israel, and he took it on the second day, and smote it with the edge of the sword, and every person in it, as he had done to Libnah. Then Horam, king of Gezer, came up to help Lachish, and Joshua smote him and his people until he left none remaining. And Joshua passed on with all Israel from Lachish to Eglon, and they laid siege to it and assaulted it. And they took it on that day and smote it with the edge of the sword, and every person in it he utterly destroyed that day, as he had done to Lachish. Then Joshua went up with all Israel from Eglon to Hebron, and they assaulted it, and took it, and smote it with the edge of the sword, and its king and its towns, and every person in it. He left none remaining, as he had done to Eglon, and utterly destroyed it with every person in it. Then Joshua with all Israel turned back to Debir, and assaulted it. And he took it with its king and all its towns, and smote them with the edge of the sword, and utterly destroyed every person in it. He left none remaining, as he had done to Hebron and to Libnah and its king, so he did to Debir and to its king. So Joshua defeated the whole land, the hill country and the Negeb, and the lowland and the slopes, and all their kings. He left none remaining, but utterly destroyed all that breathed, as the Lord God of Israel commanded. And Joshua defeated them from Kadesh Barnea to Gaza, and all the country at Goshen, as far as Gibeon. And Joshua took all these kings and their lands at one time, because the Lord God of Israel fought for Israel. Then Joshua returned, and all Israel with him, to the camp at Gilgal. This is the word of the God to us. O Lord, open our hearts, that we put into practice that which you have revealed to us.